my brother who stopped. He was bleeding in this color for no reason, because he was dark.
That was Joselo Lucero speaking at the location where his brother was murdered for being Hispanic. Hundreds gathered at the parking lot of a train station in Patchogue, Long Island to commemorate the race-driven murder of Marcelo Lucero. Marcelo Lucero was an Ecuadorian immigrant who had lived in Patchogue for 16 years and worked in a dry cleaning store saving money to send home to support his mother, a cancer survivor. On the night of November 8, 2008, 7 teenagers set out to go, quote, beaner hopping, which consisted of riding around town and beating up anyone who they perceived to be an undocumented immigrant. The teens were convicted of gang assault. One of them, Jeffrey Conroy, is serving a 25-year sentence for manslaughter as a hate crime. 6 others pleaded guilty and are serving sentences of between 5 and 8 years. Lucero's murder put a spotlight on the issue of anti-immigrant violence on Long Island that had been ignored for a long time. A 2009 report by the Southern Poverty Law Center found that Latinos in Suffolk County, Long Island, were regularly harassed and taunted. In 2001, 2 Mexican day laborers were lured to an abandoned warehouse and were nearly beaten to death. In 2002, the home of a Mexican family was burned down. A prosecutor said the home was attacked with fireworks simply because Mexicans lived there. Both incidents occurred in the nearby town of Farmingville, that has been known to be ground zero of the anti-immigrant movement on Long Island. The report also found that it was largely fueled by anti-immigrant statements and policies by local politicians and law enforcement. The Latino community and immigrant advocates have charged that former Suffolk County Executive Steve Levy played a role in exacerbating the climate of fear for Latino residents. Levy received criticism for his response to Lucero's murder for characterizing it as a one-day story. He later apologized for his comments.
And that's when I made a remark that I regret.
After a federal investigation and international outcry, many see progress has been made, but an old wound has reopened for the Latino community. GOP frontrunner Donald Trump scheduled an event on the same block as Marcelo Lucero's death on his anniversary.
This is a mistake, bringing somebody who's using the rhetoric of hate and everywhere in the whole entire country, and this is insulting. This is the real spot where my brother was killed, and 4 blocks away they celebrated somebody using the same language the kids using the day my brother was killed.
Some positive steps were made after the killing of Marcelo Lucero, but all of that, all the progress that was made has been lost by this visit by Donald Trump. It is gone. All the hard work by this town, by the police department, it's done. It's over. They'll have to start from scratch all over again. They'll have to try and earn, once again, the trust of the immigrant community. And it's not going to be easy.
Trump supporters came out to show their support and defended Trump's decision to speak on the same street of Marcelo Lucero's murder.
There's a new sheriff in town, you know what I mean? And they're afraid of him, and so they're trying to block him. Those kids were dumb. He got jumped, he got mugged, and he got stabbed. It could have been racially, it probably was. And those kids, the kids were prosecuted, and they're serving time for that. You know, and then of course, why are you blaming that on Donald Trump? It was 2008.
I heard about the murder in the news. I know it happened in 2008. You know, that has nothing to do with Mr. Trump. And many of these people here depict him as a racist, which he's not. He is not a racist at all. He is pro-immigration, having people come here, like I said before, legally. People come here legally. But deporting those who are illegally here, I'm 100% for.
Everybody has a right to protest. But I was here yesterday, and the reverend from the church here was speaking. He said he didn't want him here. This is America. This is freedom of speech.
Donald Trump does have the right of free speech. He does not have the right to promote hatred. He does not have the right to promote violence, which is what happens at every one of his events. He does not have that right. I do not have the right to call on the assassination or the beating of Donald Trump and his followers. It would be criminal for me to speak that way, and that's what he's doing against our community.
Immigrant advocates say that Trump's rhetoric and proposals are fueling a dangerous anti-immigrant sentiment in the country.
If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration, Chris. You wouldn't even be talking about it. The fact is, since then, many killings, murders, crime, drugs pouring across the border, our money going out and the drugs coming in. And I said, we need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly.
They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
Illegal immigrants coming in are causing tremendous problems. In terms of crime, in terms of murder, in terms of rape. And when people come in, they have to come in.
So you're going to split up families. Chuck, you're going to deport children.
Chuck, no, we're going to keep the families together. We have to keep the families together.
But you're going to keep them together out.
But they have to go.
What if they have no place to go?
We will work with them. They have to go.
In August of 2015, a homeless man in Boston was beaten because he was Hispanic. Two brothers from South Boston were arrested and charged with beating a 58-year-old man with a metal pole, breaking his nose and battering his chest and arms. One of the attackers allegedly said to the police that, quote, Donald Trump was right, all these illegals need to be deported. When asked about the beating of that Hispanic man, Trump dismissed it.
I haven't heard about that. I think that would be a shame, but I haven't heard about that. I will say the people that are following are very passionate. They love this country. They want this country to be great again, and they are very passionate. I will say that.
The anti-Latino violence and Trump's passive acknowledgement of the beating is only confirming much of what the Latino community's fear is that Trump's rhetoric is fueling the rise of a violent anti-immigrant movement. All the progress achieved in Patchogue 8 years after the murder of Marcelo Lucero felt threatened with the visit of Trump. But Lucero supporters left with a sense of hope. Those at the vigil emphasized that peace, love, and unity in their community is the best way to combat Trump's hateful and divisive rhetoric.
Overcome,